Hello, everyone. If you can hear me, please let me know that you can hear me.
Hello, I can hear you.
Oh, all right. That's nice. Yeah. So we we're quite scanty right now. What do you guys say we give the remaining folks like 10 minutes and then we kick off? Um, okay, cool. Um, just for context, today is going to be similar to what we did on Wednesday, right? We decided that this, for the entirety of this week, we are just going to, answer any questions you might have and give you some time to focus on the assignments that you've been given. That's why we did not take a new, that's why we did not take a new topic at all, or we've not taken a new topic at all this week. So today is going to be similar to Wednesday. The floor is going to be open to everyone. If you have questions regarding anything you've learned so far, if there's anything that's confusing you, you say it here, and we try to address it so that every other person can also learn from it. Yeah. So like we said, let's give the remaining people, or as many people that can join, 10 minutes. Hi, Akane. It's nice to be here too. So let's give them 10 minutes and then we're gonna get started after that. It's 11:58 right now, so I'm thinking, um, yeah, let's do the next 10 minutes. All right, let's get started. So for the people that just joined, I was telling everyone in the call earlier that this session today is going to be similar to that of Wednesday, where we just take questions, any confusions you might have been experiencing, any question you might have regarding everything you've been taught so far, right? You would have a chance to ask, and I'll try as much as possible to break them down for you so you can understand and hopefully clear things up. So yeah, if you have any excuse me. Yeah, so if you have any questions or anything that's been bothering you regarding the things that you've learned, regarding the current assignments that you've been given, please feel free to raise your hands and I'm going to call on you and, you know, we take it from there. And like I said on Wednesday, this meetings or this session is either going to be very short or very long, depending on how many questions we have and the the weight of the questions that we have. So I can see one hand up. If it's just one, then I mean it's gonna be very short. But yeah, Kendi, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and
Okay.
let us know what your question is.
Good afternoon. Well done. Thank you for being with us. So my
Hi.
question goes like this. For the Zuri example regarding the 60-30 rule, there is a certain part that has different, though it's the same color, but the percentage varies there. So I'm thinking, can we use the same thing for landing page too? Maybe when we have okay, features for them, maybe you are using. Let's say I'm working with three color. Assuming I'm working with blue, red, and pink. So my this thing, I use different percentage for the three color. Then when I'm at the features product section, I change I'm still using the same color, but the percentage in which I change. Is it allowed? Do you get the question?
Yeah, so those particular ones are going to serve as your tertiary colors. When we were talking on Wednesday, I had mentioned
So please
that yes.
let me finish with my question. It's not just one. And also
Oh, okay.
concerning the
Go
font
on.
hierarchy too, sorry, I'm just sorry. The font hierarchy,
Fine.
there is a part that maybe you want to a title, it will be at the beginning, it will be bigger. Then maybe towards when you want to write the caption, it will be minimal to what you use up. Then going forward, you still have to write a title. Do you mean that you can still go back? Maybe you use 24 before, you use 16, then going forward, you now want to use, is it allowed to use 24 again? Do you get that one too?
I'm not sure that I do.
Okay, fonts, it has to do with hierarchy too. font size.
Yes. Mhm.
So assuming you want to name a title, you use a big hierarchy. Let's say I use 32. Then I want to
Mhm.
write caption under that title. I use 16. Then
Mhm.
going to the another section of that page too. I want to write section. I want to write title. I use 32. You know, in that way, it is now 32, 16, 32. Is it allowed?
Technically, that's how it works.
Okay,
So
okay.
when when you're designing, once you've created your style guide or your design system or stuff like that, or let's just say style guide for this level, right? You would have selected the fonts that you want to use, right? And you would have assigned a particular property to each level. So let me share my screen very quickly so we can just walk through that and you can see in real time what I mean.
Though I still have
Um,
one more question, Damilola. I'm very sorry.
Okay, yeah, let's just tackle these two so that so I won't
Okay.
forget to answer anyone. Okay, so where is Zoom? Where is Zoom? Okay, this is the, yeah, I'm sharing now. Done. Cool. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just bring in a random frame, and this is, let's call this, let's say health is wealth, trade, yours, well. That was good. Okay, and yeah, let's say this is the hero section, right? We have this as the H1. By the way, H1 means heading one, which is mostly what we use for the headings in the hero section. And then you have a paragraph. Let's just put some random text. Let's make this C24. It can be bold. All right. So yeah, hold on. Okay, so this is our H1, let's say 80, and this is our paragraph for the hero section. Now, if we have another section here, and obviously we also want to give it a page content of its own. So we're not going to use H1 for section 2. H1s are the largest font sizes, and they are majorly reserved for the hero section, meaning the most prominent header that you're going to have on your site. It's this, right? So it's not ideal that you use the same font size for the header in your hero section and then the headers in the other section, which means based on your style guide, which you should have gotten, right? You would have had an H1 text, and then you would have had H2, which is going to be smaller than the H1. And you would have had H3, which is going to be smaller than the H2. Let's say 48. Do you get? So while we are using H1 for the heading, in the next section, we are not going to be using H1 anymore. We're going to be using our H2. All right. And then the same goes for paragraphs. So in a lot of designs out there, it's okay for you to use the same paragraph settings for every section of your site, right? But also you will notice that in style guides, right, the ones that you've seen, or maybe if you've gone online to check, you notice that even body text have different levels, right? Some are like, so for instance, you might have 24 as a property, if a body property, and then you have another one that is smaller than 24, that's 18, and then you have another one that is smaller than 18, let's say 16. And in some cases you might need to use very small font sizes like 14, right? And you will notice things like these particular ones in footers, because when you scroll down to the ending of the page and you notice those copyright or rights reserved, they are always written in way smaller fonts. It's because they are not supposed to be dragging a lot of attention. They are just there for people that want to deliberately go and search for them. They are not that important for everyday users, right? So sometimes, right, you might have a situation where you are using this large paragraph property for your hero section, and then you're using the same one for the other sections that come afterwards, right? And there are times that you decide that, you know what, this text looks too big for this section. Let's use the smaller one instead. Do you get? So in every case, your style guide is going to be what is going to help you, right? But bear in mind that your H1, the largest heading size that you have, is always reserved for your hero section. Everything that comes afterwards, you can use your H2. And now you might want to ask, because if you notice on the Zuri site, right, we have a section that has a heading and a body. Do you get? And then it also has a smaller heading. Do you get? Right. So there are situations like that. Now, in this case, since we've used our H1 already, and this is where hierarchy comes into place. Since we've used our H1 for the hero, and then we've used our H2 for the beginning of this next section. Since we have another header in this section, the next thing that comes to mind to use definitely has to now be our H3. So that's how this hierarchy thing works, right? Once you've used, H1 is always reserved for hero, yes. But once you've used a size in a section and you're supposed to have another header in that section, then that other header needs to be smaller than the main one. And I think there's an example of that in the Zuri site currently. Let me share that so you can have a clear idea of what I'm talking about. Where is No, I don't want to do desktop. Let me open Chrome instead. Can you see my screen? By the way, I would need verbal confirmation. I can't
Yes,
see the
yes,
chat right now.
yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is an example of what I'm talking about, right? We have H1. You notice that this text is bigger than this, right? And you notice that for this section, we used, of course, these are H2, but you'll notice that even in the next section that came after it, I'm using the same size, of H2, because this is the beginning of this next section. Like, this is the heading of this next section. So it only needs one heading property, right? There's no smaller heading here. It's just the heading, the H2, and the paragraphs that we have, right? And for this next section too, it's the same thing. We have our H2, right? And the smaller paragraphs that we have. I'm trying to find one of those sections where we have multiple. Exactly. Look at this, for instance. We have our H2 here, which is, of course, the exact same properties as this. But then since we have cards that also have their own heading, I'm using another heading here for this point, but these headings are relatively smaller than the actual H2. So when you're stacking fonts in your design, and the reason why we're doing this is not just for the sake of design, it's because if a search engine is going to crawl this site, for instance, maybe people are searching for something, right? They're searching for, maybe they type in product open bracket UI UX design, right? When Google crawls, or one of these search engine crawls, they crawl based on the structure and the hierarchy you've given your project, right? So the reason why when you search for something and then Google gives you a result and you click on that result, chances that those keywords that you searched for, you see it. It's because of how those pages are structured. Google is structured to, or these search engines are structured to scan through headings, every level of the heading, H1, H2, H3. They might not necessarily be able to scan through the body effectively, but they are able to scan through the body properly. So when you've structured your heading well, you are not going to have a problem with search engines, right? So let's continue. We have our H1 here, which is the biggest one we're using on everywhere on the site. And then we have the H2, which we're using to start every section. That's the first header of every section. And then for sections that have sub headers, we have a smaller heading property, right? And this is the same across board, right? It's the same across board. Let me see if there's any other page where I can also show you this. Okay, yeah, it's the same thing here, right? We have our H1 here, which is the biggest. And then, of course, this is H2, right? Our heading 2. This is one section, by the way. Then the next section has its own H2. But then because there are sub-headings, this is why we have the smaller ones here, which is our H3. And you'll notice that the size is the same as what I just showed you on the home page. It's consistency everywhere. right? So that's how you structure your headings. But if you have a scenario where your section only needs one heading, for things like this, for instance, this section only needs one. So just my H2 is fine. This section needed more than one. That's why I have my H2 and my H3. This section needs, yeah, basically needed one. That's why I have only my H2. This section needs more than one. That's why I have my H2 and then my H3 in these other places. All right. So I hope that explains. I hope that explains that. I
Yes,
hope that
yes.
explains that. Okay, so what's your next question?
The color.
Okay,
Color.
yeah. So you would remember when I was talking, I think I even showed this site also on Wednesday. I
Yes.
said that it's brands have their colors. Every
Mm.
brand does, Ours is this brown, this shade of red, and then this creamish or grayish cream kind of deal. But you will notice that I've also sprinkled around this, cream, this light orange, light pink, and light purple. Right? They are not our primary colors. Do you get? They are just accent colors. They're like tertiary colors that we use to just make things vibrant a little bit. So I decided that, you know what, for these accent colors, I wanted to use these particular ones. You can decide that in your own design, what you're trying to do, your accent colors are going to be something you derive from the primary colors. So an example would be that, let me stop sharing this and go back to Figma.
Oh, Damilola, you didn't get my question. Please let me go back to that Zoe page. Let me tell you what I'm asking. So that I can
Oh, you want me to go
understand what
back to
I'm.
zero page? All right, let me go
Yes.
back there. Hold on. I'm there. Go on.
Okay. So you can see this first part, the creamish color is the 60% there. This
Mm-hmm.
section, the top section, the hero section. But if you
Mm-hmm.
scroll down, this color is the, I don't know. No, maybe let's take
Oh,
it from the
wait,
beginning.
this color.
No, let's take it from the beginning. Can you scroll up from where okay, okay. Continue, scroll down. I'm trying to look at the 60-30% because there was a time where this part, is it wine? I will call it wine, that is the bigger percentage.
Oh, wait, I think you're thinking about it all wrong. When we say 60, 30, 10,
Time.
right? We are not saying 60, 30, 10 per section.
Okay.
Do you get? It's 60, 30, 10 generally.
Okay.
Do you understand? Which was why when I was explaining, I didn't say, oh, this color is the 60, is the 60% in this section. No. I said if you scroll through the page, you notice that the majority of the color you see is the cream, which is our 60%. And then the next color that has more use cases than the 60 is the brown, which is our 30. And the one I use more sparingly is the 10, which is, is the red, which is our 10. So it's not particular to sections, which is why I also mentioned that we decided to use this brown as a way to separate sections, make other sections stand out.
Okay.
Do you get?
Okay.
Yes, it's not
Okay.
particular to sections, it's generally all
Okay, thank you.
across the site.
Thank you. So
All right,
regarding
what's your
blue, for
next
instance,
question?
blue is synonymous to trust in our
Mm-hmm.
parts. So blue
Mm-hmm.
has different shades. Like we have turquoise blue, navy blue. Like, does that mean all
Mm-hmm.
any shade of blue is also trust?
Uh, okay, I wouldn't say any shade. I wouldn't say any shade. I wouldn't say any shade. If you study fintech apps that use blue, you would notice that they use they use deep blue. Let me see if I can um fintechs that use blue core. Sorry, that's for branding. Or fintechs with blue branding. Let's see. Okay, yeah. See, this is what I mean. This, and then piggy vest, for instance. You know piggy vest, right?
Yes.
Yes. Even there, you can see.
Okay, it's
Do you
also
get?
that
So
shade.
yeah, it's not. We can't. I'm not sure we can use. Can we use sky blue? I'm not sure we can use. Yeah, this is just off. This doesn't feel fintechy at all. It feels chill and calm. That's why if you see designs that are advertising beach houses or summer vacations or something like that, where people just go to relax. This is what you see. Because I mean, when people are relaxing on the beach, you're looking at the sun, they're seeing blue. Do you understand where that psychology came from? So it makes sense for you to use blue. I mean, this kind of sky blue for things like that. But when it comes to fintech, you don't want to use you don't want to use cyan, you don't want to use electric blue. You want to stick with either Persian blue or Zafre or Sapphire. Just blues that are slightly darker. Blues
Okay,
that are
thank you.
slightly darker.
Then, I
Mhm.
don't know if we are still meeting before we submit the mobile interface assignment. Because there are some
No, we're not.
towards the end, we are not. Please, can we go to that assignment? Because I don't
No, wait, wait,
towards
wait,
the
wait. Mobile interface. That mobile
mm,
assignment, you guys are supposed to have 2 weeks. So you're supposed to deliver that by next week. Is it not next week, Saturday? So yeah, no,
mm,
we'll still meet. We'll still meet because we are going to resume classes next week. I mean, like I
next week.
said, this week
Okay,
was
that
to
means we
answer
are
this.
meeting. Okay,
Yeah,
no
yeah. But we're
problem.
going to be talking about, is it user? Who's that? If you're the one unmuted, please ensure that you mute yourself. So we are going to be talking about the user research and stuff like that. Excuse me. Let me
Okay,
try to find this person and
okay,
mute
thank
them
you.
myself. Okay, they'll be muted. All right. Yeah, I hope you've been able to answer all your questions.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Okay. So is there anybody else okay, wait. Please, can you show how to make a design responsive, how to use constraints and auto layout? Okay. We were going to, sorry, are we doing wireframe for our screen? So for Omolola, I don't know if she's still on this call, but if she's not, if anyone is close, you guys can just let her know. Right now, right now, we want you to use, oh, okay, cool. We want you to use everything that you've been taught to try to answer these questions, right? So if trying to okay, let me start from here. When we say design, make the design responsive, right? Basically what we're trying to say, we're not saying create a frame, design it so that we can drag it and scale it down. We don't need you to do that right now. Those take time sometimes to figure out. Do you get? We don't need you to do that right now. What we need for you to do is to create a layout, like design your desktop view, but design it in such a way that by the time you create the tablet and mobile view, we can clearly see that this tablet view came from the web view. Do you understand? And I gave an example of this not last week, on Wednesday, where I just created a sample section, sample error section, and then I was showing people I was showing you guys how it will translate down to mobile, right? So we are not expecting you to, go deep into constraints and auto layouts and drag everything to make it. No, don't bother yourself about that just yet. We still have time. We still have a lot of things to figure out together. We're going to teach you in depth how to, work with constraints. We're going to teach you in depth how to work with auto layouts. There's still a lot of things that needs to be done. Do you understand? So don't feel pressured to try to create a web view and drag it by the side, drag it up, drag it down to make it responsive. No, that's not what we're expecting. We just want you to create a layout or a website that by the time you create a desktop view, we can see clearly that okay, this actually scaled down. Like this actually like this looks like the web view. Do you understand? And I'm not sharing my screen anymore. An example of that would be, okay, let me share my screen again and show you. Okay, I don't like it when this happens. Give me a second. All right, cool. Yep, sure. So when I was giving an example on Wednesday, right, I created a sample section, a sample wireframe section where we had texts, we had the heading, we had the paragraph, we had the button, and then we had an image here. And I was telling people that for that design to be responsive, for it to appear well on mobile, this horizontal arrangement has to now be vertical, which means this image is going to come underneath this text, right? And if I scale my browser down, you'll see that that's exactly what happens. So you notice that nothing really changed. I did not change any design elements, like everything is still as is, but the image came down, and anybody that sees this, it's very, very clear to them that, oh, look, this is the mobile view of this desktop design that I just saw. It's clear. That's what we mean by responsivity at this time. Do you understand? So just create a layout that is responsive, that can easily be converted to mobile. And excuse me, here's the thing. Part of the reason why we're also telling you this is that I work with a company right now that I'm developing for them, not necessarily designing. I only design once in a while. But what happens is that when they create designs, they don't create mobile view. Do you get? They only create the desktop view. I build the workflow, by the way. So they only create desktop view, and then I have to implement the site. So it's left to me, in a way, to make the site responsive. Do you get? It's left to me to make the site responsive. So if the designer had done a layout that responsivity would have been complex for, there would be a problem for me to implement. Do you get? But because these designers also understand that, oh, we are designing this on web, but this has to be mobile responsive too. So I have to use elements that are realistic. I have to use a layout that is realistic and stuff like that. Then it makes it easier for me to see the web view, implement the web, and just make it responsive by myself without having to tell them, look, go and design this mobile view. And at some point in your careers, developers will ask you that, oh, don't just do web view, do mobile view. Why some wouldn't? Do you get? So what is going to help you at that point is understanding what it means to design a responsive web view. So once you have a layout, like everything that is looking complex, this is looking like there are a lot of things, but if you break it apart, it's small. This is one image. This is just one heading, right? This is one paragraph. These are two buttons, and these are just stats. That is everything. Which is why it's easy to just make it responsive, because everything stays as is. It's just the arrangement that now changes. So that's what we're saying. Don't go crazy with constraints and stuff like that. Just work on a clean layout, right? And create your tablet view, create your mobile view, and let us see that you actually thought of tablet and mobile when you were designing the web. That's all. I hope that clears things up for you. In the coming times, we're still going to have other projects to work on. So we'll go deeper into the critical aspect of things. But right now, we believe that it's still too early for us to be trying to make you do things that people in their 40 years are doing. Right? Yeah. It's okay. I can see someone's hand being raised. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can see what's going on in the chat. All right, awesome. Yeah, I'm glad I could help, Amalola. Kende, you have another question? Shit.
I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. I was
Go
in
on.
class on Wednesday, but the auto layer part that you did for us, I was trying to replicate it. The thing was not just doing. I don't know what happened. And I tried to go to Zoe this thing on YouTube. You people have not uploaded the videos. So
Okay. I can show you that again, but let me take it. It's Keaton, right? I don't know how complicated this person's question is. So let me just hear your question too. So if it's something I have to address together, I will just address them. You can unmute now.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Uh, Thank you for the class so far. My
You're
question
welcome.
is actually on design thinking.
Okay.
So I want to ask, are we applying design thinking to this landing page stuff?
Yes, you apply design thinking in all your projects, even if it's a fun pet project.
Sorry, please, I don't really get that design thinking so well. Especially that the first stage.
You said especially the
Can
first
you hear me?
stage.
Yes, the emphatic or what is it called?
Empathy. Okay.
Yes.
Think about it this way. Let me try to break it down as simple as possible. If you were part of the intro to design class, the first class that I took, right? I had mentioned that design is all about problem solving. You're solving problems that people are facing with with Figma and whatever else tool that you use rather. So when we say design thinking, the part where empathy, test, and the rest comes in is basically what everything is trying to say is that you need to put yourself in the shoes of the people that you're designing for. Really understand their pain points, right? Then based on the understanding you have of that, you now come up with a possible solution. Do you get? So they come in multiple levels, right? So the first thing is that, oh, okay, maybe my task is to design a landing page. The question is, design a landing page for what, right? Maybe I'm designing a landing page for a dumpster company or a garbage company, people that come to take out our garbage and the rest, right? Okay, fine. I'm designing for them. I'm designing a solution for that niche. Now the question is, who am I designing for? Like I know the niche I'm designing in now. Okay, fine. The niche is, or the area, let's say the area of specialization where I'm designing for is the garbage industry, right? Okay, so who am I designing for exactly in that industry? Now we will now talk about the fact that, oh, okay, we want the app to help users be able to call these trucks to come and carry their garbage, because one of the problems that a lot of people in some estates face is that these people don't come on time to pick up the debts, right? So maybe we want to now create an app that allows people that live in that estate or the general public, to be able to call these people and say, look, my dumpster is full, come and help me empty it, right? Maybe that's what I'm designing the app for. Now, I've figured that out. Okay, that's what I'm designing for. The next question is now, okay, so since that's what I'm designing this for, how have these people been getting in touch with the garbage companies before now? Do you get? Now you notice that with everything that we've been saying, I have not gone to Figma to start designing anything yet. No, I'm still asking myself questions, still trying to figure things out, right? So these are people I'm designing for, blah blah blah. How are they communicating with these garbage companies, or how have they been communicating with these garbage companies before now? How have they been calling them, right? That's when you now have to start asking questions. Hi, Mr. ABC. I noticed that your garbage has always been full, and then sometimes I noticed that you're having backs and forth with these trucks when they finally come. How have you been getting across to them before now? Maybe Mr. ABC will tell you that it's my friend that knows somebody that helps me get across to them, or I have a phone number that I call and then they put me on hold and I have to talk to the receptionist, blah blah blah. They will tell you everything. So based on what Mr. ABC tells you, you can now start ideating from there. You can now start saying, okay, since Mr. ABC is going through a friend of a friend, and that is always been stressful, or since Mr. ABC always has to talk to a receptionist and they will put him on hold for 30 minutes, why not figure out a way that Mr. ABC can get direct access to the people in charge and not have to pass through the receptionist, which means I'm saving Mr. ABC 30 minutes. By the way, I've not gone to Figma. I'm still ideating. I'm still thinking about it. So what if I can come up with a way to do that? Or what if I can come up with a way that I can reach out to these garbage companies? And this is another angle to approach it. What if I can come up with the way where I can reach out to these garbage companies and tell them that, look, your reviews are bad, right? People are complaining that you people are not doing your work very well, but I mean, I'm here to help you. So I am trying to build a solution, right, where people can place an order or place a request to say that, look, my garbage is full, come and help me pick it up, right? So you wouldn't have to be worrying about phone calls. All you have to do is stay where you are, right? The app is going to notify you that somebody from location X requests your service, and all you would need to do is send a truck directly to that location to pick it up, and then the person pays online, and then the money is deposited in your bank account. Which means you are telling these companies that, look, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is get your trucks ready, and then when these orders comes, go and pick it up and come back. By the way, I've not started designing. I'm still thinking through, working through a flow, working through a process. This is everything that design thinking is all about. So these people will now tell me that, oh, that's a very awesome idea. I'm on board. Let's do it. Now you've gotten party A to sign up. That's one thing. Once party A signs up, right, you can now go back to Mr. ABC and be like, okay, so based on the discussion that we had 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, yesterday is too soon. Let's say 2 weeks ago. What if there was a solution that helps you solve this problem, where from the comfort of your living room, you just pick up your phone, log into the app, and request this service from your phone? People already do a lot of things from their phone, so doing one more thing shouldn't be a problem. So what if from the comfort of your living room, you can just pick up your phone, request this service, and then they will come in record time, because now they are not having to be calling people up and down. They are sitting where they are, so they will now come. Or if they cannot come immediately, they will tell you exactly when they are coming. Do you get? So you not tell Mr. ABC that, oh, what if there's an app that can help you do this. And then Mr. ABC says, if there's an app that can help me do that, I would definitely love to use it. That's one question. Now you've gotten party A to say yes. You've gotten party B's interest. Now the next question is, okay, Mr. ABC, I'm excited to hear that you would like to explore this app. So how much do you think you would be willing to pay for this stress that the app is saving you? That's another thing. Because in as much as you're solving a problem, your problem has to generate money. That's why a lot of companies die when they can't generate money, right? So you ask him, how much do you want to, or would you be willing to pay XYZ amount for this comfort that you're receiving? And then he will either tell you, oh, that amount is too much, but I can pay this. Or he will tell you that, oh, no, I'm not willing to pay anything for it at all. Rather than pay, I would keep on calling them. So if you reach out to multiple people and they are telling you that rather than pay, right, they would keep on going through that stress, it means that you've technically not solved that problem yet. You need to find another angle to things, right? But when you reach out to them and then they tell you, oh, yes, I'm willing to pay for it. The first person says, I'm willing to pay for it. Second person says, I'm willing to pay for it. And you reach out to a couple of more people, you got a couple of more, positive interest. Boom. Then you now know that you have something to work on. Like you can whip up something, right? Since you capture both their interests, you can now go into Figma and start drawing up a flow. Now you are going to have to draw up a flow. And by the way, I'm not giving you this as assignment. I'm just trying to explain something, right? So you're going to have to draw up a flow for how it's going to work on the service producer's end, which is those people that are actually coming to pick the garbage. And how it's going to work from the end user's end, which is the Mr. ABC and the rest that we're talking about. So it's after you've drawn, I'm not saying wireframe yet, draw up a flow. So the idea is that, at the starting point, the service producers log into their dashboard. They get notified that they log into their dashboard, they put in their email password, and then they log in. They get notified that there's an order, a pickup order somewhere. They click to check out the location or the details of that order that came in, and then they assign a driver to go pick it up, and then the driver goes to pick it up and complete the order, or pick up the dates and complete the order and comes back to station. That could be their flow. And then on the end user, it could be that, when users want their date to come and get picked, they open the app, sign in, and then click, maybe go here to, request a pickup, right? And then once they request, maybe they pay immediately. Maybe it's a monthly subscription. However it is that you want to do that payment part, it's left to you, right? But when they do this, they do that. When they click this, they can now see how long it's going to take the, pickup trucks to come. And then once the pickup truck comes, you pick it and go, and that's the end of that flow, right? So this is how this design thinking works. It's not complex. It's just a step-by-step process. But sometimes if you're looking at it from a eagle-eyed approach, you might think, oh geez, this is so much, I can't do it. You can't do it. It's not like a do or die kind of thing. You're discussing with people, right? You're discussing with people. Look, you're facing this, how can I solve it? You're facing this, how can I solve it? Which is why I said on Wednesday that even though you're doing research for these landing pages that you're doing, it doesn't have to be crazy. You can talk to people around you, right? You can choose, funny enough, you can choose a problem that maybe only your siblings around or your family members are dealing with and everything, right? And then you talk to them about it. Oh, what do you want us, like, how do you think this could be better, blah blah blah, and then they tell you how they expect that it should be better, and then you work on that product instead, right? But design thinking just cuts around everything. It cuts around everything. You have to understand their pain points. You have to actually put yourself in their shoes. You have to ask the right questions. Then you have to work out a flow. You have to test that flow. You have to ideate again. You have to keep testing, and then when you have something that works, then you can push. So basically, that's it. It's nothing complicated really. It's just a step-by-step process. But yeah, the random flow I just explained, I hope it sheds a little light into how you can imagine these things going forward. Does that work? The question is for you, Kiton. Are you cool?
Yes. But I
Awesome.
have another question. How does prototype now comes into the whole scenario?
So prototype and testing are similar. So from everything I've been saying, right? Once you've worked out a flow and then you've designed something, you've designed something in Figma. People don't necessarily understand wireframes. If you design a wireframe now, I don't know if you're on the call on Wednesday, but that thing that we did, right? If you design that and you show that to a layman or a random person, they will look at it and they are seeing a bunch of boxes and shapes. They don't understand it. So the only way for them to understand what they are seeing is if you give them visuals, which is why prototyping is important, because once you're done designing, you can now use Figma's prototyping capabilities to link pages together, which means anybody that has access to that design can click through, can actually walk through a flow. Do you understand? So it means that instead of just showing somebody a static page that, look at this fine design that I did, they can actually hold your phone or hold their phone, visit that link that you sent them and click through to experience the app and see if it's really something that they would love to use or not. So prototyping is part of your testing flow. Once you've designed, you have to get users to test. Right. And testing comes at different levels. You test when you're designing, you test after developers have developed, and you test again before pushing, which is where QA comes into place. All these quality assurance folks, their job is to test, ensure they're going to use the life out of that app to ensure that it can withstand whatever it is that people throw at it. All right. And that's also what prototyping does, because sometimes you'll be prototyping and then you'll be going through a prototype and then you're clicking a button, it's taking you somewhere, and you're like, I don't understand. Why did I come here? Like, why did I come here from there? It doesn't make sense. Right. And then when you get this feedback from people, you now be able to think through and be like, oh, okay, that's true. Users are not supposed to come here through there. They're supposed to come through another angle. And then you go and iterate and come back. Do you understand? So yeah, that's why prototyping is important. It's necessary for your users to test, right? It's necessary for your stakeholders too, because if somebody is paying to design something, all right, in as much as you're going to like maybe get users around you to test, the stakeholders also have to be able to test, right? If I'm paying you millions of naira to design a product, you have to show me a prototype now. I can't also go and pay developers millions of naira, and at the end of the day, they will now tell me there's a design problem. That's somebody's going to break somebody's head. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, that's why prototyping is also important. Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let me take this question that says, is it okay for the design itself to be a bit different from the... Oh, yes, a million times yes. I've said this multiple times. It's possible that you would have created, and yes, we fall victim of this too sometimes, no matter how long you've been in the game. It's possible that you create a wireframe today and the wireframe is looking so superb. It's amazing. In fact, you're feeling like you've done the best thing since sliced bread. Unfortunately, when you start adding colors, you now start seeing that thing that you're looking at that was looking very neat and clean, bro, it's not it. It's not it. I think I experienced the same thing, the exact same thing myself yesterday. I was working on a project and the wireframe was looking good and everything. And then when I started adding colors, I was like, no, I worked on that thing till like on that design till I think around like 3 a.m. this morning. And it was still not what I wanted. So yes, I can tell you categorically that it's okay for your actual designs to be slightly different. In fact, sometimes very different from your wireframes, because colors changes things. Right. I was telling someone this a while back too, that it's possible that you will work on a project and then it's looking weird to you. Everything is looking weird. You're not comfortable with it. And the mere action of changing the font could be the game changer. Right? It could be the game changer. Sometimes just changing your font can change the identity of your entire design. Sometimes just changing one color, sometimes changing arrangements. So the fact that a wireframe looks very good doesn't guarantee that your end product is going to look good. But what wireframing does is that it gives you structure. So even if I'm adjusting my designs way after the wireframes, I know that I already have a structure. I know that this section is supposed to come after the hero section. So even if I'm adjusting my designs, I know what I'm doing. Like I know the structure I'm still working with. But yes, your colors might change, your images might change, your font types might change, your layout might change, but your structure still remains the same. If your wireframe says you're going to need 6 sections in a design, even if you are changing the design after the wireframes, those 6 sections are still going to be there. That's what wireframe does. It gives you structure, like a foundation, right? I hope that answers your question, Omolola. Then Beth said, I think the wireframe to say that. No. It doesn't have to be. That's what we're saying. It doesn't. You can iterate. You can iterate. It happens a lot of times. That's why we say do wireframes. Right? That's why we say do wireframes, because and we're even talking mobile. I mean, we're talking websites now. Imagine for mobile. Like imagine that you've done something for mobile, and then you know in your heart that now that you've added colors, it's not good. Like it's not looking good. Would you really still stick with it? No, now you make changes. You have to make different. You have to make updates and adjustments. Yes. So there are times when once you've done your wireframe, and you follow the wireframe verbatim, everything's going to come out perfect. Yes. But there are also times, like what I said happened to me yesterday / this morning. There are also times where it just doesn't look good. It doesn't work. Like, or maybe it looks good to other people, but it doesn't look good to you. But I mean, you're the one designing, so you have to figure out the best way to come after it. But yes, it can be different. Don't let anyone tell you that, oh, it has to be the same. There's no law that says it has to. Wireframes are only mandatory because they help you get structure. My question, should the sizes of the body of the text fall between H1 and H4? Please, I don't know if Ebube is on this call, but if you are, you don't use H1. I mean, when we say things like H1, H2, H3, H4, you know what? Let me show you how a style guide looks, and maybe that's gonna help clarify things a little bit better. Give me a second. Let me find. Yeah, let me just open it up first, and then I can show you. Clients first. Where is it? Client first 2.0. Yeah, I think this is it. Let's see. It's not looking like it. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think this should work. Then come back, share my screen. Hold on a sec. Where's Figma? All right. Can you see my screen? I will need a verbal answer, by the way. I can't see the chat. Someone can just unmute and let me know.
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. So this is a style guide, all right? This might look different from the other style guides that you're seeing. Don't let it confuse you, but this is what I wanted to show because of Ibube. So when we say things like H1, H2, H3, we mean headings, right? H means headings. So when I say H1, H2, H3, I mean heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, heading 6. And you would see here that each one of them has different sizes, right? Heading 1, which is obviously what I said is reserved for the hero section, always looks like this, and it's always the biggest, right? And then we have heading 2, which is smaller, heading 3, smaller, heading 4. So you don't use headings for body. Headings are reserved for headings. When you want to use your body, what you use for body is, regular text elements or paragraphs. Do you get? And then you also give those different properties. So if we already said that, a heading is going to be, let's see, 64 pixels, you can't use 64 pixels for a body because that will look very, very weird. Let me see if there's a design comparison I can use here. Okay, yeah, maybe we can do something like this. So look at this section, for instance, right? This is like a wireframe, by the way, but it's like a high fidelity wireframe because there's actual text and everything. But look at this, for instance. This is a heading, right? That's why it looks like this. You notice that the body looks normal, like it's smaller, it's cleaner, it's not this big. Imagine that we gave this heading the same, this body the same property as the heading. Maybe I made it bold, the way the heading is bold, and let's say this is 48. Let's say I made the body also 48. I get this. This is weird. This is very, very weird. This is not going to work. All right. So that's why headings are, and this is calling too much attention to everything. So that's why headings are the way they are, and they are reserved for the intros into the sections, right? So this is telling that, let's say this is the how it works section. So this is going to say how it works. Pardon my youth. Okay, this is going to say how it works. And here we are actually going to put information about how it works. So anybody that comes to this section is going to see a very, very clear heading, and then they will proceed to read about what the heading is talking about. That's the exact same way blog posts are structured. And that's why blog posts are structured that way. You can't go to a blog post now and see that the heading is so big and then the body is also so big. No, there needs to be a clear difference. So it's readable. From what I did before and now, wouldn't you agree that this is more readable, right? So when we say, let's go back, H1, H2, they are reserved for headings. Then you can create properties for your, your regular body text, but it's never going to be the same as the headings. I hope that answers your question. Let me stop sharing so I can see the chat now. Okay.
Please don't forget my question, no. The auto layout stuff that I promised to show you.
Okay. Samuel said, good afternoon, I'm currently working on my project, but it's not responsive after applying. Okay, Samuel has a question relating to auto layout, so I guess I'll just show that. So do we include a description of the idea? Yeah, I talked about this. The design project asked, or the assignment said that you should let us know why you choose, what you choose, what idea you choose and why you choose it. So yes, you put it in the Figma file, right? It's just going to be, it can just be beside the design, but yes, you put it in Figma file. Okay, let's go back to auto layout. Am I still sharing my screen? I'm not. Let's go back here. I guess I'll scatter this style guide and go back later. Share. Okay, so back to auto layouts. I think these are all in auto layouts. Okay, that's perfect. So you want to understand why it's not being responsive for you when you're creating things or when you're trying to set up auto layouts, right? Responsivity only happens when you don't set constraints. And what I mean is that if I zoom into, this is the one I scattered. Okay. So if I zoom into this, for instance, right, you can already see that this is in auto layout. Where auto layout is added. I can remove it, but it's currently added, right? Now, let's do something first. Let me try to decrease the width. All right, this is responsive, and I'm going to explain why it's responsive. If I click into this first element that is, this first container that is holding everything. If you look here, you would notice that it says I've set it to fill, which means I'm saying that for this particular container, I want it to fill the width of whatever it is I placed it in. In this case, this section. So I'm telling this section that, oh, look, you are the parent section. And this, I'm saying that take the width, the entire width of the parent section. Now, since we are saying the entire width, you might be wondering why there's still space when we say the entire width. The reason why there's still space is that for this section, we had said that you should have a padding of 40. Right. So if a padding of a left and right padding of 40 and a top and bottom padding of 128. So let's do something, right? Let's remove these paddings. If I make it 0, right? And then I make this, let me close this. I make this 0, right? And I tell this to fill. It's still, where is it still showing? Okay. So let's do fill and boom. Can you see? So everything in auto layout is particular about how you set it, right? So let's start again. This is a section, right? I can decide that I want this section to have padding inside, like left and right padding, and I can add that here, of course. So if I give it a padding of 40, you can see that there's space. If I increase the padding to 200, boom, you can see how much padding we now have, right? So based on that, if I now tell the content inside, the container inside, that I should take the entire width, no, fill container. If I tell it to take, excuse me, sorry, a call came in. So if I tell this section inside to take the entire width of this container inside, take the entire width of the section, it's going to take the entire width of the section, but it's also going to respect that this section has a padding. So padding means that, look, out of all the available space, I'm reserving 200 on the left and right. So no matter what happens, nothing is extending past these 200 pixels I've set. But if I did not set anything, I put it in 0, right? And I set this to org, then nothing is going to happen. Do you understand? Take note that everything is all about setting. So if I go back to this section and I say, look, let's give it a left and right padding of, let's say, 72, right? And then we tell this to fill the container. Then, this is going to fill. Now, the reason why the elements inside of this container are also being responsive is because we set them to fill also. So if you click on, I think I should actually even share this. Maybe you guys can explore. Hold on. You guys should just explore this. Anyone with the link can, yeah, let's do can edit. That's fine. Okay, I'm dropping a link in the chat now so that you guys can just play around with these auto layouts that have been created and you can see what we're trying to talk about.
Hello, sorry, Damilola. If we were to submit, it should be on Canopy, right?
It should be on what now?
Canopy. If we were to share for the submission, that anybody can open the link.
Yeah. I just did edit because I wanted you guys to be able to play around with this. This is not a personal project. Do you get? Yeah, but if you're submitting, you need to ensure that we can access that link because if you can't access it, then that's an automatic fail. I mean, we can't grade it. Okay, so yes, before you people start playing around on Figma with me, let's focus on this, right? You would notice that if you click on this, right, you notice that it's set to fill container, right? And also, if I click into every element inside it, right, you would also notice that it's set to fill container. Do you get? Which is why by the time I now reduce the width of the main body, like, okay, wait, I've adjusted this again. Let me set it to fill. All right. So which is why by the time I adjust the width of the entire body, it now starts getting responsive. It's because of the settings I've given every individual item in that section. Do you get? But the one thing you need to focus on when you're working with auto layouts is this part. If you can see my cursor, see this bunch of settings, right? That says fixed width or fill container. That's like one of your most important assets because that's what is going to determine if your design is going to be responsive or not. So anytime you do something, anytime you work on an auto layout, right, and then you try to reduce the width and it doesn't, let me remove this from fill. Let me do something. Let's make this fixed. Right. So anytime you have an auto layout and then you are reducing the size and you're getting something like this that is not responsive, just know that that particular item that is not responsive, you've set it to a position of fixed. You don't want to do fixed. You always want to do fill. So go into every single one of those items and set them to fill container. Once you set to fill container, everything is responsive. Now you'd also notice that this image on the left is responsive too, right? The reason why that is happening is because it has been set to fill, and let's confirm that that's true. So if I click into this image, you can see it's fill, but let me set it to fixed and see what happens. I've set it to fixed right now. Let me reduce the width of everything. Can you see? It's only the height that is now being adjusted because the height is also still set to fill. So if I go back to the height and also set the height to a fixed height and I try to adjust this, can you see what I'm getting now? Like it's no longer responsive. So that's everything about auto layout. Once you've framed everything together and you've assigned auto layout, the next thing that you need to do is go into every one of the elements and ensure that they've been set to fill. Now, there are some elements that you probably don't want to fill the entire container. And if you guys can still see my screen, for instance, this button text, it's currently set to org. So maybe I should explain the difference between fixed org and fill. If I have, let's start a new file, and I need you guys to follow me on this. If I have a text that says this is a test, right? Let me make it bold and more visible. Okay, so this is a text file. Text that says this is a test, right? If I convert this into auto layout, right, and that's easy. All you have to do is either you right click and you come down to add auto layout, or you just press Shift A on your keyboard. Shift A is the shortcut for adding auto layout. If you don't want to use the shortcut, you can right click on it and come down to add auto layout. So I've added auto layout here. You're probably not seeing that there's a frame around it yet, but let me give it a color of, let's say, red so that it's more visible. And then let's give the text white. Black doesn't work well on red. Good. So now we've turned this into auto layout, right? But the auto layout property that we currently have says org. you'd see it here, which means this frame is hugging around this text. Hugging is like I'm holding everything together. I'm just wrapping myself around it. That's what hug means. In fact, let me put it here. Let's call these hug property. Yeah. And thank God I've shared this file so you guys can easily have access to it. So this is hug. This is what hug does. Hug just wraps itself around the element. So with hug property now, you can now decide to increase your left and right padding, right? However you want to increase them, and everything is still going to be hug, like it's still going to hug everything and hold it to the center, right? And then with hug, if I decide that I want to make this text fill the container, right? It means that no matter how wide I drag it, you will notice that, see, the length of this text still extends. Obviously, the text is not that long, but you can see that the length of this text box is extending. If I increase the size, maybe if I increase the weight a little bit more, and I go back, you'll see that the length of the text box is also increased, right? So that's what hug does. It doesn't matter, how much content you have inside it. As long as you've set the property to hug and you've set the what's it called? You've set the element inside to 100% fill, then hug just always wraps itself around, right? So even if I reduce it down, you can see like the spacing around is still equal. That's what hug does. Now let's try another property that says okay, let me explain what the fill property does. So you cannot use fill properties on outer elements. What do I mean? If I have a rectangle like this, no, let's not use a rectangle. If I have a frame like this, right, and I maybe made it auto layout, I cannot add a fill property to this frame. Why? Because there's nothing to fill it to. So when you're using fill, think about if you're pouring water in a container, right? The container is going to get filled up, right? I mean, the water is going to fill the container because you actually poured water into something. So you're telling the water that, look, I need you to fill this container. And then the water in turn is going to fill the container, right? Because there's a container to be filled. But if you just have an element where there is nothing holding it, you cannot tell that element to, take the property of fill because there's nothing for it to fill. I don't know if you understand, but let's do something else. Let's create a frame, right? Let's give this color red. And then let's create a rectangle inside that frame and give this color white, right? So like I said, remember I said the outer frame, this is the outer frame. I said the outer frame cannot hold a property of fill because there's nothing for it to fill. And you would see that here. That's why you're not seeing any drop down that says fill and hug here, right? Because there's nothing to fill. But for this one, it can fill. So let's now turn this outer stuff into auto layout, right? And click on the rectangle inside. You'd see that I now have the option to fill the container. Why? There is an outer container and there is an element inside the container. So the element inside the container can fill the outer container. That's what we mean, right? So if I set this to fill, now I've set it to fill, it's currently filling the container. The reason why you're not seeing a difference right now is because this outer container it's fixed, right? We've not told it to hug itself around, what's it called? We've not told it to hug itself around the container that it's holding or the element that it's holding. So if I do hug and then I start dragging, let's make this, I've not made this 100% yet. So you notice that everything now expands, right? But everything you need to understand about auto layout, right? It's here. See, this is your best friend when it comes to auto layout here. It's your best friend. So anytime you've turned something into auto layout, let's start this from scratch. Let's create a frame, right? Let's make it red once again and create a rectangle inside that frame. Maybe not even a rectangle, let's try a square, right? Let's even align it here, right? And make it white. So this is currently a rectangle inside the frame. It doesn't have an auto layout property yet. The moment I click on this frame and I add auto layout, you can see that, it hugs itself around the container, the element inside. So basically what we are trying to say is that if I click and drag now, and nothing happens, it's definitely because I have not told the white box to fill the entire container. So in order for me to make this auto layout start working like a proper auto layout, I have to come here, click on this white, and tell it, hey, you know what, don't be fixed. I want you to fill the entire container. I hope you get it now. So that's everything. So anytime you're trying to, anytime you create auto layout and then you're dragging and it's not working, just know that that particular item that is not responsive, you've given it a property of fixed, and you never want to do fixed because fixed is constrained. You cannot go higher. So, we've been working with the width, right? Let's also give it a height of fill, because right now, if I do this, the height is not responsive. So in order to do this, I can just click on the white rectangle again, come down to my design properties, and give it a vertical resizing of fill container. So now, whether I'm adjusting horizontally or vertically, it's responsive. That is all. Auto layout is as simple as that, right? Auto layout is as simple as that. And then, as you advance in your studies or in your career, you are now going to start working on layouts that can wrap. So an example of that would be, oh yes, and there's also one thing that you need to understand. Thank God I even tried this. Auto layouts have direction, right? So right now we are working with one frame, and this has you would see the direction here. We have down, we have vertical, we have horizontal, we have wrap, right? So for vertical means that every single object that I add into this auto layout, they are going to be stacked vertically. So let me duplicate this. Let's call this vertical so that we can see the difference. And let's call this horizontal. And by the way, I know that there are some people on this call that already understand all this. So please, just let's allow people that don't just get this horizontal. All right. So, hey, what the hell is this? Okay. So we have vertical, which means, like I was saying, every single thing that is here is going to start vertically. So if I duplicate this white rectangle, you can see that it's now stacked vertically. I have two that are stacked vertically, right? Because this is set to vertical. If I come to this other one and I select this and I change the direction to horizontal, do you get? And then I duplicate this rectangle. Can you see the difference? So if you set the property to vertical, it means that as you're adding stuff, everything you're adding are going to be on top of each other. So let me duplicate this again so that we have 3 rectangles inside. See, now we have 3. Increase the height, you see, right? But here we've set it to horizontal. So if I duplicate one more, we're just going to have 3 horizontal cards that are responsive. How cool is that? All right. Okay. So, excuse me. Let me move this around. So now that we have this and that, you understand what that means. And for the spacing in between, like you notice that the space between the elements in the auto layout they are tiny. I mean, I want it to look better than this. So in order to adjust the spacing, I can't just come and reducing the size here to distort things. So what you do is that you click on the frame that is holding everything, the main auto layout property, and then come down to the gap. Right. That's why I say when it comes to auto layout, this set of tools, they're like your best friend. So to change the space, to change the gap between the rectangles, I can just come here and increase. So it's going to increase the gap evenly. And I can do the same thing for the horizontal parts. Click on the frame and come here and increase the gap. It's going to do that evenly. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, so that's that for, I mean, we've talked about the org and fill property. We've talked about the fact that if you've created an auto layout and you're dragging things and it's not responsive, that particular, okay, you know what? Let me do something. Let me make one of these fixed. No, let's make 2 fixed and leave one as responsive. So because 2 are fixed right now, if I drag, You can see what I'm saying. So whenever you create any auto layout and you are trying to drag and something is not working, just know that, look, there is a problem. So those particular items that are not moving, we've not set them to fill the entire container yet. Once you set them to fill, they are going to be responsive. Okay, so, and by the way, we've talked about direction. So this has been set to vertical. If I click here, it's going to be changed to horizontal, back to vertical. Simple as that. And then the third one that says wrap, you probably wouldn't need to use it now, but I can also show you how it works for the sake of your records. Okay, so how many of, okay, probably a lot of you have seen this, but you know, when you go to websites, especially websites that have blogs, and then, oh, I can see that there are some questions in the chat. Don't worry, we'll take them. Hold on a second. When you go to websites that have blogs, you notice that on desktop, they probably have 3 cards, right? But when you're visiting them on mobile, they now become something like, they now become something like this, right? This is how those blog posts look. These are they are displayed on desktop. These are they are displayed on mobile. Now, mind you, you don't, when you're designing, you don't necessarily have to just, you don't have to do what I did just now, where I went to change direction and resized everything. No, a way to do that using this wrap functionality, which they added not long ago, that was cool of them, is that for when you've created this desktop view, right? For every single one of the items, you give it a fixed width. You don't let it be filled, right? You give it a fixed width. So let's give all of them a width of 400 each, right? So I just gave all of them 400 each. You notice that the padding here was not adjusted. That's because the frame has a fixed width too. I've not set it to org. So if I set it to org everything, our paddings are going to be equal. So now everything is equal. And you would also notice that we've changed this to 400. So with the wrap feature, if I go to wrap, right, and I start reducing my width, none of these are going to be resized. They are just going to be adapted. Can you see? Can you see? So it's like this. I've set a width of 400 for each of my cards, right? I've set a width of 400 for each of my cards. And I'm telling, so what I'm telling it is that even when the screen size is reduced, right, do not reduce the width of those cards from 400. Instead, stack them vertically. They are currently horizontally, right? But stack them vertically. Right. So let's do something first. Let's change the property of this from a fixed height to org, so that when everything is resizing, it's going to look cool. And then let me now reduce. You can see what happens here, right? So even if I reduce lower than, it's still not going to adjust this because I've set a fixed height of 400. But that's what wrap does. That's what wrap does. Wrap just wraps everything and keeps wrapping them as long as I've set a constraint, right? And you'd see it here. If you look here, you'd see, you'd see what we're saying, right? It means that the highest number of columns are going to be 3. And then after 3 is going to start wrapping. So which means if I created one more here, it's not going to be 4 rows. I mean, it's not going to be 4 columns. Did you see that? Right? And that's what wrapping does. That's what wrapping does. So even if I keep adding more, it's just going to keep wrapping and sending them down the line. And this, my friends, is how those block sections are, they are designed, right? These are those block sections are designed because they are set to wrap. That's what wrapping does. So yeah, I mean, auto layout can look daunting. It can look like, oh, it's the end of the world, but just take it one step at a time. You will get here, but you can start with the simple ones that we've done. Understanding what it means for you to, for you to use the org property, understanding what it means for you to use the field property, understanding how to stack or how to direct your auto layout element vertically or horizontally, understanding how to add gaps, around your element, then understanding how to set fixed width so that you can wrap elements as you drag, right? So yeah, I hope this helps someone. I hope it helps you too, kind of, because I knew you were the first person that talked about this auto layout thinking. All right. So yes, explore these sample builds that are here. Play with them, drag them around, see which ones are fixed and which ones are responsive, and click into each and every one of them to see why they are fixed and why they're responsive. right? And if you have any more questions, I'm pretty sure that there are others in the group that also know these things. So like I said, there are no first positions and there are no last positions. So if you know something and somebody else is asking for help them, help them. It's not going to cost you anything. Yeah, let me stop sharing so I can see these questions that are in the chat and we can move on from only Shelly on. Okay. Special appeal to your office. My network is kicking me out. Can they make this video available to us sometime? Thank you. Someone, you're saying you don't have access to the fill option. Like I said, you can only apply fill to elements that are inside an auto layout frame. Do you get? So first things first, create a frame. If you want to set up your auto layout, create a frame. Bring in the elements that you want to put in that frame, whether it's a picture and a text or just a picture. Just bring them in. Once you do, that frame that you've created, right, attach auto layout to it. So immediately you do, and you come to this properties panel, you would notice that that particular frame, you can set it to a fixed width or you can set it to org content. Do you get? So I would advise that you set it to org content. So when you set it to org content, you cannot go inside the you cannot go inside the frame, and every single element that you've added in that frame, you will now be able to add a a property of fill. Don't worry, just try it out. You see. First things first, create the frame, bring the two elements that you want to put inside that frame, bring them inside the frame, and then convert that frame to auto layout. When you do, that frame that you converted to auto layout, set its property to org. Let it org the elements inside. It's holding. Once you've set the property of that outer frame to org, the content of the frame, those things that you brought into the frame, you cannot set their, to 100%. You'll be able to set it to full. So I hope that helps. And when this video is ready, you can just go through again, fast forward to this part where we were experimenting and see if we can figure it out from there. But yes, it's possible that you might not be able to get everything at once, but it's fine. Allow yourself, take it slowly. But you definitely get a hang of it eventually. So I hope, okay, somebody has a question. Everywhere you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Thank you. So for the task that we just have to do a landing page, can we also use the same idea for the task that we have to design multiple pages, like 5 pages for?
The principles are the same. Wait, when you say the same idea, the same product.
The same product, yes.
I think that should be fine. Actually, I think that would be fine. I think that would be fine because at the end of the day, you would have a complete product that you can share with your network when you're done with the training. Yeah, so you can do that. Whatever idea that you choose to design the landing page for, you can also design a mobile app for it.
All right, thank you.
That's a very good idea. Well done. Anybody else has any questions? Okay. Okay, so since nobody else has any question, I guess that would bring us to the end of today's session. I hope you were able to take away one or two things, and I hope we've been able to clarify the aspects that have been causing you some trouble or some confusion. Yeah, thank you very much for joining. Yeah, have fun, guys. Cheers.